So, the beginning of this class, we're sort of going to go through my letter that I wrote when I was a seventh grade teacher. So, yesterday we looked at how we link certain issues to different departments. And my issue is specifically about content in my classroom. So if I was a seventh grade teacher, I would be specifically speaking with Miss Linares and Miss Frances Barnes, because one is my direct supervisor as a middle school principal and the other is my direct supervisor in terms of what I'm teaching in class. But I'm also going to add Mr. Scalisi because he's like the overall supervisor and he should be a part of a conversation if I'm talking about changing something about the way I teach. So the first thing I did was I came up with the four pillars of my letter, and you guys are going to do this too in a brainstorm. What is my issue? Why does my issue matter? What is the solution? And what would the solution change? The issue I found when I was teaching seventh grade was that my students don't see their culture in the work we do. It matters because if curriculum isn't including them, we are not communicating that we are communicating that we do not value their experiences and their journey. The solution that I came up with is including texts and content that is about people that look like our students, feel like our students, and are of topics and persons that our students are interested in. Like include the kids in planning work. What would change if we use the solution? I put that if students feel valued and interested in the work in class, I predict that they're going to engage a lot more, they're going to try a lot harder, and they're going to be a lot more successful, including outside of skill, they're just going to be more confident and prideful in their work. So those are my four pillars. I'm going to break down my example and use just color coding, and this is what you guys are going to be able to do with yours if done to fidelity. So in my greeting, as I said, I have Mr. Scalisi here, Ms. Linares, and Ms. Frances Barnes. Overall supervisor, my direct supervisor, and curriculum supervisor. In my greeting, I have my name, my positionality, the fact that I'm a teacher here, and my purpose. My name is Courtney Patrick, and I teach ELA curriculum at Great Oaks. I am writing this letter to shed light on an issue regarding curriculum, general, and then I get specific. While I believe teachers should bring issues to administration, I do not believe they should only bring the issue. In addition to showcasing a problem, I am writing to submit a proposal for a solution. The ELA curriculum at Great Oaks does not entirely represent its students, and new text should be included to reflect our students, their passions, interests, and their cultures. I might say that's a lengthy sentence. Specifically regarding the seventh grade curriculum, I propose altering the poetry unit to omit white male dominated authors and focus on the Great Migration and the poets of the Harlem Renaissance. To further relate to students, I propose comparing a 1920s author of choice to a 2020s musician of choice to compare and contrast. I do have to add, this was also during Black History Month, and I was like, we cannot be doing white dudes and their poetry during Black History Month. So it was also like a time motivationally, inspirationally inspired thing. In my introductions, I use clear words to name the issue. The curriculum does not represent its students. And in clear words, I explain why it matters. I need to raise the engagement and confidence and their grades. Then I have the words I propose to trigger the fact that, hey, this is what I think we should do instead. For bonus points, I am going to offer like super specifications. I was super specific, and instead of just saying like, hey, we should use other texts that are about the kids, I go super into Great Migration and the Harlem Renaissance, and I talk about the actual assignment that I would change using a current singer or musician or artist to mirror and compare and contrast a Harlem Renaissance author. So that was my introduction. What is my issue? Who am I? What's my solution? In paragraph 2, I am stating the issue and talking about how it affects the kids, right? You're going to state the issue and talk about how it affects the student body. The ELA curriculum at Great Oaks does not entirely represent its students. That's a restate, meaning, and then I go deeper, meaning their passions, interests, and cultures are not things that they can see and experience in texts at school. This affects the student's body by creating a culture that makes students feel like teachers do not value who they are as a person. But we are not here to teach students information for them to regurgitate. We are here to foster a community of challenging systems and expressing ourselves fairly and respectfully. Students do not see how to do that because they are not reading about situations and experiences that parallel their own. Without inspiring stories that mirror their lives, how will they motivate themselves to engage, excel, and be a change? Bonus of a rhetorical question, you should have that in your mind from ELA. As a teacher, this affects me by feeling dismayed about student engagement. So I'm being honest. I'm like, hey, I'm bummed. Without engagement, my classroom feels empty, and without sparks of laughter, joy, and learning. So I make a personal connection to my problem, right? Paragraph 3 is going to be the solution. My topic sentence, state the solution. I propose altering the poetry unit in 7th grade to include authors that look like our students, sound like our students, and live like our students, even in the past. Instead of the many white male poets, we would begin with the Great Migration, the journey of overcoming obstacles of oppression. The Harlem Renaissance is a celebration of overcoming, owning one's voice, and sharing one's culture in a safe space. This is what a classroom should be, particularly one with minority students. So I'm trying to make it as real as possible and explain to administration that this could work. African American storytelling in poetic form will engage and inspire our students. Second, the comparison to a current musician will make the work relevant and more engaging and interesting. So I provide details on why this would work. And in my last sentence, how would this change things for the better, which is what you did in your pillar brainstorming once you complete that. The more interested a student is, the more confident they are with the work. The more confident they are, the more they lean into attempt and demonstrate their mastery of skills. So that's kind of twofold. You can create yours in a sentence or break it up like mine. Then finally, you have your conclusion. There's really no new information here. You're just sort of like dropping the mic. Your topic sentence is ideology. What could this be in an ideal world, school, or job? As teachers, we want our students to see themselves in the work because they are the reason we are here and they are the future. The Harlem Renaissance poets is a more accurate representation and reflection of our students. The current rappers and singers today also use today's language to express their own culture, social commentary, and advocacy for change. So I restated how my solution is the answer, and I use my ideology to present my case. These are all things we want to see in our students, but we will not see them if we continue to use traditional content in our ELA curriculum. And then make sure we incorporate a thanking for time or thanking for consideration or please consider, like you see here in the green. Please take this into consideration as we move forward into the poetry unit. I thank you for your time and hearing your teachers and their feedback. Thank you for everything you do to uphold integrity and compassion at Great Oaks. Sincerely, Mrs. Courtney Patrick. So at the end, remember to leave it on a positive note. People aren't going to want to listen if you're just like ragging and negative and, don't say, hey, thanks for hearing me out. So make sure that that is a component that ends your work. Okay. So I know this was fast and we could go through it again, and this will be posted on Schoology, but this is sort of like a 10-minute overview of what our goal will look like. And then soon we're going to be going over the rubric and outline of how to get here. Remember, it's going to be broken up. We're going to do our 4 pillars first. But before we could do that, I wanted to give you guys what it would overall look